Sometimes a quarterback doesn't just play a great game, he delivers a message. And on Sunday, Bryce Young didn't whisper his message, he screamed it across the entire NFL. For months, people questioned everything about him. His size. His arm. His confidence. His future. Whether he should even be the starter going forward. But on this night, inside a stadium that felt like it was waiting to judge him, Bryce didn't blink. He exploded. This wasn't just Bryce Young's best game as a pro. This was the moment he finally stood up, walked into the fire, and said, "I belong here." And the craziest part? Nobody saw it coming. The Panthers walked into Atlanta carrying the weight of one of their ugliest losses of the season. The kind of loss that cracks locker rooms. The kind of loss that breaks young quarterbacks. The kind of loss that had fans asking out loud if Bryce Young's time as a starter was already slipping away. Even Bryce admitted earlier in the week how heavy everything had become, the pressure, the mental strain, the frustration. He spoke about mental health, about staying grounded through storms, about finding clarity when the world felt loud. You heard him talk, and you wondered how much he was holding in. And then the game kicked off, and something inside him detonated. From the first snap, there was a different energy in his eyes, a sharpness, a steadiness, a quiet anger. The Panthers opened with a scripted drive that looked perfect, but fans had seen that before. They had seen early drives look crisp, only to watch the team collapse like it always did. And when Atlanta punched back, hard, you could feel the familiar dread settling in. 21-7. The defense blown off the field. Drake London running free as if the Panthers secondary forgot he existed. Zone coverage melting. No blitz. No pressure. Nothing. And then the injury happened. Bryce drops back, gets rolled up on, and the stadium goes silent. That's the kind of moment that breaks a team's will, especially a team already living on heartbreak. Bryce limps off without help, but it doesn't matter, the feeling hits everyone, not again. Not another Sunday where everything falls apart. But somehow, and this is where the story turns, that moment didn't break Bryce Young. It ignited him. He came back out with fire in his chest. Not checking down. Not playing scared. Not worried about chatter or charts or comparisons. Bryce Young came back willing to throw his reputation on the line. Suddenly he's ripping deep shots. Suddenly he's standing tall in the pocket. Suddenly he's playing like the kid who used to dominate at Alabama, fearless, fast, surgical. 448 yards. 3 touchdowns. 0 turnovers. A quarterback rating that didn't just look good, it looked defiant. Every throw carried something extra, not just velocity, but anger, pride, clarity. It was as if all the criticism, every mean tweet, every doubt he heard whispered about him, he turned all of it into fuel. The Panthers needed someone to rescue them. They didn't need a script. They didn't need luck. They needed a leader. And on this night, Bryce Young finally looked like one. The Falcons kept coming, the defense kept leaking yards, and the game kept threatening to slip away, but Bryce would not let it. Not this time. Not in this building. Not after the week he had. The Panthers didn't just win. They survived. They stole a game they had no business stealing. They walked out of Atlanta, a place that has haunted them, with a win that felt bigger than a scoreboard. Because this wasn't a victory for the Panthers. This was a resurrection for Bryce Young. When the Panthers fell behind 21-7, the script felt painfully familiar. For most of the season, that was the moment when the offense folded. Short throws. Hesitation. No rhythm. No spark. You could almost feel the weight settling on the team again, the same weight that crushed them last week. And then Bryce Young went down. A defender collapsed onto his ankle, and he stayed on the turf longer than any of us had ever seen. Bryce doesn't show pain. He doesn't grimace. He doesn't look vulnerable. But this time, he did. He limped to the locker room, spat it up, barely able to put weight on it, and the entire stadium knew what Panthers fans were thinking. Is that it? Is that Bryce's last snap today, or worse, his last snap as the starter in Carolina? For a moment, the season felt like it was teetering on the edge of a cliff. Backup quarterback warming up. Players looking around for answers. Fans bracing for another long, empty Sunday. But something changed, and nobody knows exactly what. Maybe it was adrenaline. Maybe pain. Maybe pride. Maybe the fire of a young quarterback tired of being questioned. Whatever it was, Bryce Young came jogging out of the tunnel like a man who had just been told his career depended on the next drive. And when he stepped back onto the field, the team followed him, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Because toughness like that, you don't ignore it. You rally around it. From that moment on, Bryce Young wasn't just playing quarterback. He was fighting for something bigger, for belief, for respect, for the right to still be the guy. And suddenly, the offense woke up. Tezra McMillan unleashed the kind of breakout performance that announces a star to the world. Not just catches, statements. Breaking tackles. Exploding after the catch. Turning routine plays into 40-yard bursts like he was carrying the anger of everyone who doubted this unit. Xavier Legette. He played like a man who had been waiting all season for this exact moment. Smooth routes. Deep strikes. Shades of a future WR1. And this time, he didn't drop the over-the-shoulder throw he missed last week. He caught it like he wanted redemption more than he wanted air. Everywhere Bryce looked, someone made a play. Jalen Coker, coming off injury, fought through traffic for tough grabs. Mitchell Evans looked like a future TE1, towering over defenders. Tommy Tremble, always scrappy, always reliable, came through with clutch moments. Even Rico Dowdle, the quiet workhorse, kept the offense balanced when the Falcons sold out to stop the pass. It was as if Bryce's return from the locker room didn't just spark the offense, it challenged them. If he was going to play through pain for them, they were going to fight like hell for him. And as Bryce settled in, he didn't just get comfortable, he got dangerous. Deep balls with confidence. Tight window throws with violence. Timing routes with surgeon-level precision. The kind of throws people said he couldn't make. The kind of throws people said he was too small to even attempt. This wasn't survival football. This was a young quarterback saying, "Put everything on me. I'll take us home." He trusted his guys. He pushed the ball downfield. He played free, fast, fearless, the version of Bryce Young Panthers fans had been praying to see. And then came the moment that felt like a prophecy. A deep strike to Tezra McMillan, a throw so perfect, so calm, so confident, it felt like a glimpse of the future. Bryce didn't hesitate. Didn't double clutch. Didn't panic. He just let it rip, and let his receiver carry them into overtime. That touchdown wasn't just a score. It was a message: Bryce Young is not done. He's not broken. He's not going anywhere. For the first time in a long time, the Panthers didn't just win with Bryce Young. They won because of him. The toughness. The leadership. The belief. The accuracy. The poise. Everything people said he lacked, he put it on display in the same game he could barely stand on his own ankle. And now the conversation changes. Because this game wasn't about yards or stats or highlights. It was about watching a young quarterback grow up in real time, in pain, in chaos, under pressure, and still carry his team to a win that felt bigger than one Sunday. When the locker room doors closed after the win, the Panthers weren't just celebrating, they were trying to figure out who they were becoming. And as much as players wanted to laugh, breathe, and enjoy the moment, everyone in that room knew the truth: beating Atlanta can't be your peak. Not when San Francisco is waiting. Not when the season is still hanging in the balance. And that's why this week feels dangerous. A young team doesn't always know how to win. Not how to finish, they've done that now. But how to handle winning. Anyone can handle losing. This Panthers roster has seen more of that than they ever deserved. But success. Momentum. Expectations. That's a different test entirely. And now you go from sweeping a division rival, to standing across the field from the San Francisco 49ers, in the same stadium where Super Bowl 50 scars still linger in the franchise's memory. It doesn't matter that almost none of these players were there. It doesn't matter that this is a new regime with new weapons. What matters is the moment. Prime time. National spotlight. Cross-country flight. And one of the toughest defenses in football staring directly at Bryce Young. This cannot be a Victory Monday moment. Not the usual one. Not a relaxed, kick your feet up, enjoy the win type of Monday. This week demands something different, a dialed-in Monday. A locked-in Tuesday. A business-only week. Because 6 wins don't mean anything in late November if you don't know what to do with them. The Panthers are now within striking distance of Tampa Bay, 1 game behind, with pressure mounting. The division is no longer running away from them. For the first time in years, they're the ones doing the chasing. And they can't slow down now. Not with Christian McCaffrey waiting. Not with Kyle Shanahan waiting. Not with a defense that punishes hesitation and swallows mistakes whole. Bryce won't throw for 448 yards against the 49ers. Nobody does. The game will get tighter. The windows will shrink. The mistakes will matter twice as much. And that's where this team's real test begins. Can Bryce handle the comedown after the best game of his career? Can the receivers keep the same hunger when the field collapses around them? Can the offensive line survive long enough to let Bryce fight? These are the questions good teams answer. These are the questions the Panthers haven't had to ask in years. And while the offense was the star, the defense quietly rediscovered itself. The adjustment at halftime wasn't pretty, wasn't fast, and wasn't perfect, but it mattered. A coordinator under fire dropped the stubborn zone, trusted his athletes, and let them hunt. Nick Gordon. A rising star. Explosive. Angry. Violent in the best football way. He blew up plays like he was tired of people ignoring his name. Derek Brown. Still the immovable wall in the middle. Prince McMillan. A spark plug with a linebacker's body and a defensive end's motor. J.C. Horn. Some mistakes, sure, but the physicality is back. Even the depth guys, Corey Thornton, Christian Roseboom, came alive when the game demanded it. This young defense grew up today. And the offense fed off that energy. Now comes the moment that decides everything: do you learn from the past, or repeat it? Because last time they came off a big win, in Lambeau, they crashed into New Orleans like a team that believed its own headlines. They got humbled. Hard. This win over Atlanta cannot become another false dawn. This one has to be different. Sharper. More disciplined. More focused. Because now the path gets brutal: San Francisco. Los Angeles. New Orleans again. No freebies. No breathers. No soft landings. This stretch will tell us everything about whether Sunday was a spark, or a turning point. And maybe, just maybe, Bryce Young feels it too. Not too high. Not too low. But different. More confident. More certain of who he is and who he wants this team to become. If he carries that into California. If the receivers stay healthy. If the defense keeps that second half fire. Then the Panthers don't just show up in prime time. They announce themselves.